Arkansas Tech University Ozark campus offers an Associate of Applied Science in Human Services. This degree is designed to be completed within 2 years, and here today with me to discuss more about it is Program Chair Dr. Jackie Scarborough. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So to get us started, if you will just share what the Human Services Program is and a little bit about it for those who may not know.
Sure. So the Human Services Program, I think the best way to describe it to individuals is I usually start out by just sharing with them, and I say, just think about psychology, because many times when they hear human services, they're kind of like, what does that mean? Right. So, but then when I throw that psychology out there, like, oh, okay. So it's basically, though, learning about the psychology of people, of individuals, why we do what we do, feel what we feel, think what we think, those type of things. And then with the Human Services degree, then it's preparing yourself to go into the field to work with individuals in a variety of settings. And I think we're going to get to that, later. But working with just individuals that have, mental health issues, depression, anxiety, maybe behavioral issues as well, primarily maybe with working with kids, adolescents, those type of, issues and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. So once the students are in the program, what are some of kind of the core things that they learn that they go over and that they'll come out with?
So we spend a lot of time in my program. We work a lot with them on, of course, learning, about the brain, about different learning styles, how we learn the things that we do and stuff like that. We also spend a lot of time, because this is very important in the human services field, but we spend a lot of time on how to be a good listener, how to be empathic and genuine when you're working, with people, and authentic, because those are all very important components. We talk a lot about ethics, confidentiality, those type of things, because that's very important as well. We also talk a lot and work with them a lot, and even expose them a lot to different resources in the community and the surrounding, community, not just Ozark, but, wherever. So, like, for instance, a great example would be one of our introductory classes is we take them to different places where they might work. And so it's like throughout the whole semester, we take them to kind of like on tours of different places where they can see hands-on the work that's being done in the human services field and what they're getting into, and so and seeing how those skills that we're trying to teach them are important and are applied in the real world. So,
what are some of those places and the kind of career paths that they can pursue after they graduate?
Yeah, boy, there's a plethora. I mean, there's so many. It could be anywhere from like a nursing home to a juvenile detention center to a prison system to a mental health facility, an inpatient facility, a hospital, a school. That's a big thing right now is in the state of Arkansas, nationwide, but especially in Arkansas, is providing human services type services in the school settings, and working with children and adolescents and being part of a treatment team, So the school setting is definitely a big area that a lot of the graduates may eventually work in.
Okay. I know that's kind of a wide variety, but is there like a general pay range that the graduates can expect depending on what they go into?
Right, yeah. And like you said, it varies. But in Arkansas, I think it's very plausible to expect with an associate's degree to expect, and with no experience, let's say an associate's degree, your first job, I think it would be very realistic to expect to be paid in the lower 30s, know. So, and I want to add this too, though, just like with any field, while, the associates in my program at ATU-Ozark, it's kind of your jumping off point. And what I really encourage my students, especially those ones that I really feel like, because I get to know them pretty well, and those ones that I feel like are just really, I think, destined to be in this field, they just, I really encourage them to go on, and come to, continue your degree, get your bachelor's. And I push, go to ATU Russellville, and then a great thing too is this will be, I think, the second cohort coming in the fall that here on the Russellville campus, they started in the psychology department where you can get your master's now. So basically, awesome. I tell my students, listen, you can start with me at ATU-Ozark, right? But you can literally go through the whole Russellville system and get your master's if you want to, like, end up, like being a therapist, like what I do as well.
Right.
And so, but my point was, with any job, the more education you get, the more experience, your pay is going to increase, as well. So, and it's no different in the human services. But to go back to your question, yes, I think the 30s, low 30s, mid 30s, is not at all unrealistic in the field.
Okay.
So,
are there other educational advancement opportunities aside from the therapy route that you've
sure,
seen any
yeah,
students
absolutely.
take?
For instance, I have a recent graduate. She went to work after she graduated at the River Valley Child Advocacy Center, and she still works there now. But they went ahead and paid for her to have additional training in addition to her associates, and so now she's a certified forensic interviewer, which is totally awesome. Cool, right? Yeah. So, yes, through the employer, many times they will pay for it, but even outside of that, yes, if you pursue your degree, and maybe you don't want to do the therapy, but you can get your bachelor's degree. That even your master's, you can get your master's in other areas. It doesn't have to be counseling. It could be more human resource oriented. It could be maybe like a leadership type, certificate if you want to get into upper management, those type of things. So. Or you can kind of pursue, a lot of people kind of get a niche within human services, like a specialty, and so they kind of want to pursue that, and that could be working with a certain population, or it could be like my recent graduate, forensic work, those type of things. So those are all possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of the places that the alumni of the program do work within the area?
The River Valley Child Advocacy Center, I have a couple working there, actually. Okay. I have some working at Hamilton House. I have some working at the Fort Smith Crisis Center, Stepping Stone. So those are just a few. What's really cool to see, though, too, and I see this pretty consistently, not in all cases, but a lot of times. So one of the last thing you do in my program in your last semester is you have to do two 8-week field work placements. Okay. And so what's really cool to see is, and this is not unheard of, is wherever somebody does their field work, they're so impressed with them, that they end up, if they can, they end up hiring them.
That's awesome.
And I know, right? And that happens quite frequently, actually, which is really awesome, right?
That's a great opportunity for the students.
Yeah, exactly. So they end up getting hired on where they did their field work at.
Okay.
So that's not unusual either. So, but cool. Yeah.
Well, switching gears a little bit to your experience in human services, what would you say is just one of the most rewarding parts of the job for you?
Oh, without a doubt, just I think seeing in human service. Are you saying me as a therapist or as a professor, program chair, or both?
A little bit of both, but specifically like in the field itself. Yeah,
absolutely. Just helping people and seeing them live happier, healthier lives. I tell my students, I would love to get up every day and get paid to go see and listen to people how wonderful their lives are, but that's not what we do in the human services. So we are listening to people share with us very intimate, very traumatic, many times things, which is a privilege, but it's hard work.
Yeah.
But it's also very rewarding when you feel like, and you see them and they share with you that they're feeling happier, they're feeling healthier, they're, able to live life better, and that you had a small part of that. Yeah. That's a very rewarding thing. So, yeah.
Got chills.
I know, right? I still get chills, and I've been doing this for 34 years. So, yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
Well, if you had someone that was kind of considering checking out the program
Yeah.
or maybe enrolling, what advice would you give them?
So a lot of people that go into the human services field, not all, but a lot, go in because of things they themselves have been through. Maybe they've struggled with mental illness. Maybe they have have had a traumatic childhood, been in an abusive relationship, or maybe they're recovering from drug and alcohol abuse. That is very common that people in our field go in because of things that happen, which is, I think, can make you a better human service worker in whatever capacity you are. But my best piece of advice, and the first thing I always lead with, is if that's why you're going into the field, okay, you have got to be working on your own stuff, and don't go into this field and not be working in a healthy way on your own stuff, because I promise you, if you're not going into this field, it's going to trigger a lot of stuff in you. It's a field that has a very high burnout rate, compassion fatigue, and if you're not in a good place mentally, emotionally, physically with yourself, and I'm not saying you got it all figured out and all that, but I'm saying you're employing and you have a good toolbox and you're working on yourself, because if you're not, that's where bad things happen, like ethical violations, those type of things, and then it also becomes more about you, the HR, the human services practitioner, than about your client.
Right.
So I always lead with that. I stress that. You've got to be working on your own stuff. I'm not saying you have to have it figured out. I don't think anybody ever has it all figured out, but you've got to be in a good place emotionally, mentally with yourself, or this is you're not ready.
Yeah.
So
super important to consider.
Yeah.
Are there ways that others can get involved in the program if they're interested, or what would be their next steps?
If they're interested, like in maybe going into human services, well, they're always welcome to reach out to me, via email or a phone, and you can find all that information, on the website, ATU website. But they're always welcome to reach out to me, or just come by and visit the campus and ask. So. But I'm always, and this happens quite often, I'll sit down with people and talk to them about the program and give them a little more insight into it and stuff like that. So, yeah. And if I can just add, another really cool thing, too, is I teach just general psychology courses at ATU-Ozark. And so I get a lot of students from, like, a lot of different, like, majors that they're going into. Because it's just in a general elective, And so they're like, I'll just take general psych with Dr. Scarborough. And I always tell them, first day of class, we go around and introduce ourselves. And I ask them, I say, what are you going into? And, I get the HVAC and I get the welding and the nursing and, all the great programs we have at ATU-Ozark. And then hopefully I get some human services.
Right.
But I always tell them, I say, guys, it doesn't matter what field you're going into, you got to deal with people. Even welders, you still got to deal with people sometimes. Not as much as maybe somebody like me in the human services, but even if it's that person in Walmart that, is ticking you off, or something, So I told them, I just share with them, I was like, so, you can learn something. And it can help you no matter what area, just life in general,
for sure.
And I say that just to say sometimes, and this is a big compliment too, is when I have students that come back to me like after that class and they say, I changed my major. I want to go in because of your class, and I've had that happen. And that's really cool too, Not that I'm trying to steal any, majors, but, But that's really cool too. But even if they don't, I just tell them, get out of this, learn more about yourself and the people you deal with every day. That's a good thing. So,
well, thank you so much for joining me
today. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yes.
If you would like to learn more about ATU-Ozark and Human Services, you can visit www.atu.edu/Ozark, or you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at ATU-Ozark.